my fiancé said. I found someone who understands me better. I replied, already taken care of. Wedding canceled, house sold, her new man got fired. I'm 34, and until a few months ago, I thought my life was heading exactly where it was supposed to. I was engaged to Emily, 28, and our wedding was set for just 6 weeks away. Everything was already locked in. The venue booked, the invitation sent, the honeymoon planned, and even a down payment on a house we were supposed to move into right after we got back. On paper, it looked perfect. Friends and family kept saying how lucky we were, how great we looked together, how it seemed like we had it all figured out. And for a long time, I believed that too. Emily and I had been together for 3 years. She had this energy about her. Outgoing, quick to laugh, always the one keeping our social life busy. I'm the quieter type, but she used to say she liked that balance. I handled the big picture planning while she added the spark. That's how we worked, or at least, how I thought we worked. But about 2 months before the wedding, something started to shift. She began working late more often. At first, I didn't think much of it. Everyone has busy stretches, especially leading up to big life changes. But then it wasn't just late nights. It was sudden mood swings, random arguments over small things. Her phone never leaving her side, screen turned down, notifications silenced. When I'd ask what was going on, she'd brush it off, say she was stressed about wedding planning or tired. It's funny how your gut knows before your brain is ready to admit it. Deep down, I already suspected something was off. The way she'd come home with new clothes she never mentioned buying. The excuses about running errands, that didn't add up. The coldness creeping in where there used to be warmth. Still, I didn't want to believe it. We were weeks away from saying our vows. Who cheats while planning a wedding? So instead of confronting her outright, I decided to stay calm and watch. I started noticing patterns. She'd work late, every Tuesday and Thursday without fail. Her phone habits were guarded to the point of paranoia. And then, one night, I caught a glimpse of a message preview lighting up her screen before she snatched it away. I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw enough. Someone calling her beautiful in a way that wasn't just friendly. That was the moment I knew. I didn't blow up, didn't accuse her, didn't demand answers. Instead, I decided to gather proof. A close friend of mine, someone I trust completely, works with tech and agreed to help me discreetly confirm what I already suspected. Within days, the truth was staring me in the face. Emily was cheating. The man was older, divorced, someone she saw nearly every day. The details didn't matter as much as the betrayal itself. The wedding planning, the house, the future we were supposed to be building. It was all a facade while she was sneaking around behind my back. I remember sitting in our apartment after learning the truth, just staring at the wall. Everything felt strangely quiet. Not anger, not tears, just a kind of stillness. I had given this woman years of my life, trusted her, built plans around her, and she had been lying to my face while smiling and talking about flower arrangements. But even then, I didn't confront her. Not yet, because I realized something. If she was capable of betrayal this deep, then I needed to be just as calculated in how I handled it. I wasn't going to give her the fight she probably expected. I wasn't going to play the heartbroken victim in her story. I was going to take control of the ending. Finding out Emily was cheating cut deep, but the real punch came a week later. I was going through some of our accounts, something I usually did just to stay on top of bills and wedding expenses. That's when I noticed transfers from our joint wedding fund into her personal credit card. Not once, not twice, thousands of dollars over the span of a month. At first, I thought maybe she was covering some wedding expenses and hadn't told me yet. But when I cross-checked with our planning documents, the numbers didn't match. Those payments weren't to florists or caterers. They were to stores and online purchases under her name only. So not only was she sneaking around behind my back, she was also draining the very fund we'd built together to start our life. It wasn't just infidelity at that point. It was theft, in a way. That's when something inside me clicked. I didn't yell. I didn't storm into the living room and demand she explain herself. Instead, I felt this eerie calm wash over me. I realized that if I was going to walk away from this, I wanted to walk away clean. I didn't want months of messy arguments, lawyers, or begging. I wanted my life back, without her fingerprints on it. So, I started my own version of wedding planning. Only this time, it wasn't for the wedding, it was for the exit. 3 weeks before the date, I quietly canceled everything. The venue deposit? Refunded. The photographer? Refunded. Even the caterer, who had every right to say too late, gave me most of the money back after I explained in private. I handled every call with courtesy, explaining only that circumstances had changed. Most people were kinder than I expected, some even wished me luck. Piece by piece, the wedding unraveled, but only behind the scenes. Emily had no idea. She was still picking out centerpieces while I was unwinding the entire event. Step 2 was the house. This part still makes me shake my head. Emily loved to parade the fact that we bought our first home together. She showed pictures to friends, told people how she chose the paint colors, even talked about where her office would be. The truth? The house was entirely in my name. She hadn't contributed a single cent to the down payment or the mortgage approval. Her entire involvement was circling paint swatches in a catalog. I decided I wasn't about to give her that dream. I contacted a realtor I trusted and put the house on the market. I made it clear I wanted it sold fast, even if it meant taking a small hit financially. Within days, I had a buyer lined up. The papers were signed, and the deal was closed before Emily even suspected anything. The house she thought she was moving into after the honeymoon was gone, just like the wedding itself. Every evening, I'd come home, and she'd chatter about flower arrangements or make little digs about me, not helping enough with the details. And I'd just nod, listening, all the while knowing the rug was about to be pulled out from under her. It wasn't bitterness driving me, it was clarity. I didn't want revenge for revenge's sake. I wanted to reclaim the time and energy I had wasted on someone who saw me as a placeholder while she built secret plans with someone else. She thought she was in control. She thought she'd be the one to sit me down and tear my life apart with some rehearsed speech about finding herself or falling in love with someone else. What she didn't know was that by the time she opened her mouth, the damage she thought she could do would already be undone. I wasn't waiting to be blindsided. I was preparing to end it on my terms. The day Emily chose to confess to me is etched in my memory, not because of what she said, but because of how much she underestimated me. It was a Sunday afternoon, quiet, with sunlight spilling through the blinds. I had already known this moment was coming because, a few nights earlier, she left her email open on our shared laptop. There it was in plain text, a draft to her boss, telling him she was ready to leave me, ready to finally be free, once the wedding was off. She had even circled a date, this very Sunday, to have the talk. She thought she was about to break my heart. In her mind, she was the one pulling the strings, choosing the timing, walking away with the upper hand. I sat on the couch while she paced around, rehearsing lines in her head. Then she finally sat across from me, put on this practiced look of sadness, and began. "I don't think this wedding is right," she started softly, almost as if she was auditioning for a role. Then she added the line I'm sure she thought would shatter me. "I found someone who understands me better." She waited, watching my reaction, probably expecting me to beg, cry, or explode. Instead, I leaned back and said calmly, "Already taken care of." Her face faltered. What do you mean?" "The wedding's off," I told her. "The venue? Refunded. The photographer? Refunded. Caterer? Refunded. All of it, done weeks ago." I paused just long enough to let that sink in before delivering the real blow. "And the house you thought we were moving into? Sold last week. Papers signed. Deal closed. You'll need to start packing your things, because the lease here ends Friday." Her jaw actually dropped. For the first time in months, she had no script to follow. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, her voice rising. You sold the house? That was supposed to be ours." "No," I corrected, keeping my voice level. "It was mine. You didn't put a dime into it. All you did was pick out a couple of paint colors." She was pale now, her composure cracking. "But the wedding, my family, everyone's expecting." I cut her off. "Emily, you've been lying to me for months. Sneaking around behind my back, taking money out of our wedding fund like I wouldn't notice. And while you were busy planning your grand escape, I was busy making sure I wouldn't be left cleaning up the mess." For once, she didn't have a quick excuse ready. She just sat there, stunned, staring at me as though I was someone she'd never met before. In that moment, I realized something important. Cheaters count on chaos. They count on emotional outbursts, on their partner falling apart, so they can rewrite the narrative and paint themselves as the victim. By staying calm, by being 3 steps ahead, I had taken away every ounce of control she thought she had. She finally whispered, "I was going to tell you." "I know," I said. "That's what makes this so perfect. You thought you were about to crush me, but the truth is, you've been irrelevant to my plans for weeks." Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't feel pity. Not anymore. I stood up, walked past her, and picked up my jacket. "The wedding is off. The house is gone. And by Friday, so is this apartment. You'll need to figure out where you're going, because it won't be with me." When I opened the door to leave, she didn't follow. She just sat there, silent, finally realizing she had lost a game she didn't even know she was playing. When I came back that evening, Emily was still there, sitting on the couch like she hadn't moved all day. Her eyes were puffy, and the second I walked in, she started in on me. "You can't just sell the house. That was our future," she snapped, her voice shaky but loud. "And what about all the money I put into this wedding? All the sacrifices I made? You can't just erase everything like it's nothing." I didn't raise my voice. I simply set my bag down, pulled out my laptop, and opened the bank records I had already organized. Your share, I said, scrolling through the numbers, was about a third of what I contributed. And I already wired that exact amount back to your account this morning. Nothing more, nothing less. Her face went white again. She leaned forward, scanning the screen like maybe she'd find some mistake. But the truth was plain. Every dollar accounted for, every transfer documented. She couldn't twist it, couldn't spin it. You're really just throwing this all away? She whispered, almost like she was the victim. No, Emily, I said evenly. You threw it away. I'm just making sure I don't get dragged down with it. She tried to argue, tried to guilt me about the time we shared and the life we built. But I wasn't interested in playing therapist for her sudden regrets. She had made her choice months ago. All I had done was remove the safety net she assumed would always be there. But the irony didn't stop there. Remember her soulmate, the man she was leaving me for? The one she bragged would give her the life she deserved? He wasn't exactly in a position to rescue her. Through the same friend who had helped me uncover her affair, I learned that HR had been building a case against him. Turns out, Emily wasn't the first subordinate he had been caught sleeping with. Complaints had piled up over the years, and his reputation inside the company was already in tatters. 1 week after Emily's big confession, the hammer finally came down. He was fired. Not just a quiet exit either. Word spread fast. He lost his position, his credibility, and whatever professional respect he had left. So here was Emily's grand plan. Leave me, marry her way up, live comfortably on the arm of a man with influence. Instead, she was left with nothing but burned bridges and a boyfriend with no job, no status, and no future. I'll admit, I didn't feel joy when I heard he was fired. But I did feel a sense of closure. For months, she had treated me like a fool, like I was blind to what was happening. And now, the entire mask had slipped, not just in our relationship, but in every corner of her life. Emily tried to downplay it at first. She said he'd find something better soon, and that it wasn't about the job anyway. But the cracks were showing. She'd gone from smug confidence to panicked justifications in a matter of days. And for the first time, I saw her not as the person I thought I loved, but as what she really was. Someone who built her future on lies and shortcuts, only to watch it all collapse the moment reality caught up. That night, as I packed a few more boxes of my things, she hovered in the doorway, eyes red. I never meant for it to go this far, she muttered. I looked at her, steady, and said, That's the thing, Emily. You didn't think about how far it could go. You just thought nothing would ever catch up with you. And with that, I went back to taping up the box, leaving her standing there in the silence she had created. The week after her confession turned into a free fall for Emily. At first, she kept trying to pretend she still had options. She told friends vague stories about us, taking a break, as though she had some kind of control over the situation. But the truth has a way of leaking out, especially when people start asking questions about a suddenly canceled wedding. I didn't broadcast the details. I didn't need to. All I told people was that things weren't what they seemed, and that the wedding was off. That alone was enough to spark curiosity. And Emily, who thrived on appearing put together, couldn't spin it fast enough. Word spread, and before long, people began piecing together the truth on their own. Her mom called me one evening, clearly distressed. She asked if it was true, if Emily had been unfaithful. I didn't say much, just that I had proof, and that Emily would have to explain herself. The disappointment in her mother's voice was telling. Meanwhile, Emily herself was unraveling in front of me. One moment she was angry, demanding explanations and insisting I had overreacted. The next, she was sobbing, asking if there was any way to fix what we had. The whiplash was almost surreal. And then came the financial reality. Without the house, without the wedding, and without her partner in crime holding on to his cushy job, Emily was suddenly looking at an uncertain future. She'd put herself in a position where she had burned the security she once had with me, only to find that the man she gambled on couldn't back up his promises. I noticed little cracks, like the way she'd scroll on her phone late into the night, clearly messaging him, then slam it down in frustration when the conversation didn't go her way. She'd leave the room to take calls, only to return looking more defeated each time. Whatever dream life she thought was waiting for her with him was crumbling faster than she could cover it up. I stayed calm through all of it. I kept packing, arranging movers, and finalizing details for my new place. Every box I taped shut felt like one less tie holding me to her chaos. By midweek, she stopped trying to argue about the house or the money. Instead, she started reminiscing, almost desperately, about our relationship. She brought up our first vacation together, the times we laughed until we cried, the little traditions we had built. It was like she was replaying highlight reels, hoping I'd remember the good and forget the betrayal. But here's the thing. Those memories were real, but they didn't erase what she had done. They didn't undo the lies, the secret meetings, the way she drained our account behind my back. Nostalgia doesn't repair trust. It just makes the loss sting a little sharper. One night, as I was boxing up the last of my kitchenware, she sat at the table, staring at me. Her voice cracked when she said, "I don't know how you can be so calm about all of this." I set the box down and looked her in the eye. "Because I accepted the truth weeks ago, Emily. I grieved this relationship while you were still lying to my face. I'm not calm because I don't care. I'm calm because I'm done." She didn't respond. She just sat there, quiet, finally realizing I wasn't bluffing. By Friday, when the movers arrived, she hadn't packed a single thing of hers. She still clung to the fantasy that maybe I'd change my mind, that I'd break down and agree to give her another chance. But as I watched my boxes get loaded into the truck, I knew one thing for certain. This chapter was over. And Emily, for the first time since I'd met her, had no control over what came next. By the time the movers hauled the last of my boxes out of the apartment, I felt lighter than I had in months. There wasn't anger fueling me anymore, just a sense of relief. I had walked away clean. Emily, on the other hand, was unraveling faster than I could have imagined. It started with messages. At first, they were defensive. "We can talk about this. You're throwing everything away. Don't let one mistake ruin us." When I didn't respond, they shifted into pleading. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. We can work this out. Please don't give up on us." But the truth was, I had given up weeks ago. Not in bitterness, but in acceptance. The moment I saw the proof, the moment I realized she was siphoning money and making plans with someone else, I had already started the process of letting go. By the time she sat me down with her fake tears, I was done. I moved into a new apartment in another city, closer to a better job I'd lined up during the chaos. It felt almost symbolic, closing the book on one chapter while starting a new one on stronger ground. Meanwhile, Emily's world was shrinking. Without the house, without the wedding, and without her boss holding on to his position, she had nothing stable left. From what I heard through mutual friends, she ended up moving back in with her mom, jobless and embarrassed. And the story of her affair? That spread quicker than wildfire, thanks in part to his ex-wife, making sure everyone knew the truth. She tried reaching out again after I'd moved, this time admitting she had made a mistake, that she'd been confused, and let stress get the better of her. Reading her words, I didn't feel the sting I once thought I would. I just felt detached, like I was watching someone else's drama from a distance. The irony is that she thought she was being strategic, keeping secrets and timing her confession to maximize her control. But in reality, every step she took only set her up for a harder fall. She thought she'd be walking away with a better life, a better man, a better future. Instead, she lost everything, and she lost it without me lifting a finger in anger. That's the part one keep coming back to. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I didn't beg her to stay or ask her why. I just stayed calm, played my part quietly, and let her lies collapse under their own weight. Now, months later, I'm not carrying resentment. I'm not looking for revenge. I'm focused on the future I'm building without her. A future where my energy goes to people who are honest, loyal, and capable of actually walking beside me instead of plotting behind my back. As for Emily, the last I heard, she's still trying to convince people that what happened was a misunderstanding. But the truth is out there now, and no amount of spin can change it. She lost the wedding, the house, her reputation, and the man she gambled on. She thought she was planning her escape. In reality, she planned her own downfall. And me? I walked away free. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.